Kentucky's children to have what I want for mine, the chance to grow, to be productive, to have a good job and a good career. We have a photo of it. This $14.7 million, 40,000 square foot technology center will give students in Estill and Powell counties and the surrounding communities access to state-of-the-art equipment and instruction. The programs it will offer are in high-growth areas including advanced manufacturing, health science, engineering, and information technology. The Area Technology Center will also offer advanced courses and training in construction, diesel mechanics, and more. This was a whole community coming together to make this happen. This is one of the first new centers like this that we have had in over a decade. It was a combination of local, federal, state, and even private dollars that funded the project. And I'm proud to say my Better Kentucky budget included more than $740,000 to cover the facility's operating expenses this year. In addition to regular instruction, BCTC, the Bluegrass Community and Technical College, is partnering to offer opportunities for high school students to obtain dual credit. BCTC will also offer post-secondary classes at the center in the evening and provide training for displaced workers in this community. I want to congratulate Estill County. It is an incredible addition to a whole campus of learning that they are building. Kentuckians really need to see this. It's what's possible when a community really buys in, invests in the future, and we are going to see, I believe, some incredible job growth in the area based on that training facility. Second is a great announcement that in many ways follows what we saw from GE Appliances last week. So earlier today, we announced the expansion of another company with a long history in our state. Fruit of the Loom will grow its 540,000 square foot Bowling Green distribution center with a 203,000 square foot expansion. It's going to create 50 new full-time jobs for the residents of South Central Kentucky while allowing the company to meet growing demand for its products. Not only has Fruit of the Loom maintained a presence in Bowling Green for 80 plus years, but the South Central Kentucky community also is the home to the company's corporate headquarters. In total, Fruit of the Loom currently employs approximately 930 people in Warren County, and I'm thrilled to know that number is going to increase in the near future. Work on the project will get underway in the coming weeks, and company leaders anticipate the expansion will take roughly 1 year to complete. I've talked in the past about the strength of our state's distribution and logistics sector, and this project is the latest to showcase that. The industry employs nearly 80,000 people in Kentucky across 590 facilities, and it has shown tremendous growth, with about 2,000 distribution and logistics jobs created in the last year alone. Think about that, 2,000 new logistics and distribution jobs in the last year alone. Companies looking to ship products throughout our country and around the world aren't going to find a better home than our old Kentucky home right here in the Commonwealth. Fruit of the Loom's expanded footprint in our state is a prime example. I want to thank Fruit of the Loom for selecting Kentucky for this project, and we look forward for continued growth and more announcements to come out of this company. So I think it's important to note this is only the latest big jobs announcements we've had in Warren County in recent months. We see many regions of our state on fire. This is one of them. Back in January, Ball Corporation announced a $305 million investment in 200 new jobs at a new manufacturing plant that is going to produce recyclable aluminum ends for beverage cans. Later that same month, Material Handling Systems announced $7.6 million investment to create 200 more jobs at a new Bowling Green plant that manufactures conveyor and automated sorting equipment. And just last month, semi-trailer manufacturer Fruhoff said it was investing $12 million in creating 288 new jobs as it brings its first U.S. manufacturing site in 25 years to Bowling Green. South Central Kentucky is a key partner in our economic resurgence, and they are seeing new job announcement after new job announcement after new job announcement. That's exactly what we need. We need this opportunity at prosperity, which we are seeing, to hit every part of our state. That's exactly what we've been working for, and we're seeing it in every region. Results like App Harvest, creating hundreds of jobs in eastern Kentucky and Madison County, and soon a number of other counties. Fidelity Investments, which just made a 600 new job announcement in northern Kentucky. Results like GE Appliances, which just celebrated the $60 million expansion in Louisville, doing something they said couldn't be done in American manufacturing. That's making refrigerators. These are the results we've been shooting for. And like I said, they've been in just about every region of our state. But there's one region that I haven't talked about yet, and that is Western Kentucky. So now, for today's big economic development announcement, and this one is a blockbuster. It is the largest jobs announcement in Western Kentucky, we believe, in the last 25 years. Today is a great day as we welcome a significant commitment to the future of our state and of our people. It's a major commitment both to our talented workforce and to sustainability here in the Commonwealth. Pratt Paper, LLC, plans to locate a new paper mill in Henderson with a $400 million investment that's going to create 320-plus good-paying manufacturing jobs for the people of Western Kentucky. Company officials also expect the project to approximately create 700 construction jobs over the coming years. This, again, is the single largest investment. Well, this is the single largest investment in our state since I took office more than a year and a half ago, and it's the third largest jobs announcement we've seen so far this year. Even better, it represents so much more. This investment sets the foundation for future growth with production of 100% recycled products and well-paying jobs for Kentuckians. This ought to knock your socks off, too. Paying on average $39 an hour, including benefits. It also builds on the existing Pratt Industries footprint in Kentucky, as the company already employs more than 200 people at its Pratt display manufacturing facility in Boone County. Today's investment will support the construction of a 450,000 square foot state-of-the-art paper mill, which will employ around 120 people upon completion in 2023. Anthony Pratt, the company's leader, and other officials plan to construct a 700,000 square foot corrugated facility in Henderson, which will also add an additional investment and create approximately 200 jobs. Again, we believe the largest investment in the region in more than 25 years. Together, these facilities will encompass over 1 million square feet of space along Kentucky Highway 425 in Henderson once the corrugator plant is completed in 2026. To build these facilities is going to take a lot of hard work from folks in our manufacturing and construction industry. When we add these jobs to the positions created at the two facilities, it's going to be more than 1,000 jobs in Western Kentucky in these coming years. I'm incredibly proud to welcome this new Pratt paper operation to the Commonwealth. This project will help move our economy forward while implementing environmentally friendly practices and supplying major logistics providers and big box stores throughout the country. Now I'd like to share a message from Anthony Pratt. He is the chairman of Pratt Industries, somebody that I got to know personally in this process, that came in with his good friend Lonnie Ali, and we sat down and talked about the possibilities here in Kentucky and what makes this state so special. He has got a great vision for Pratt Paper in Kentucky, and I couldn't be more excited that we're going to see more and more and more of him here in the Commonwealth.
Thanks and good day from Australia. I'm honoured here in Kentucky to announce Pratt Industries' latest $400 million investment in a 100% recycled paper mill, our 71st factory in America, which will increase our workforce to over 10,000 employees in well-paying
So I'm told on the feed that there may have been an audio issue, so we are going to play it at the end because there are so many parts of this announcement that are exciting, and hear it directly from Mr. Pratt is so important. But let me just say they've committed to building the cleanest, greenest, technologically advanced recycled paper mill in the world, and it's going to be in Henderson. Incredibly exciting. It is going to lessen our landfills. It's going to create a huge market for recycling in Kentucky at a time when you see different communities struggling to make that work. Our economy, thanks to Mr. Pratt and others, is on fire. Thus far this year, our totals are now more than 60 projects, totaling more than $2.6 billion. Last week alone, we announced 1,100 new jobs. With this great news, 1,500 new jobs in the last 11 days alone. And our standing number thus far this year, 5,500 new full-time jobs. That compares to 4,000 in all of last year. This is how we do it. This is how we move forward. This is how we tear down the ceiling that maybe used to hold us back. This is how we make sure we are never a flyover state again. We have more opportunity now than at any point in my lifetime, and we have to grasp it. To do that, we have to make sure we continue to successfully manage this pandemic that we're facing. Now, I know that people are tired. I'm tired too. I know that people are frustrated. I'm frustrated too. But we are strong enough to do this. We are resilient enough to do this. And we are compassionate enough to where we know that we have to do this. The decisions that we make in the coming days and weeks are so critical because, as you'll hear from me, from Crystal, and from Dr. Stack today, this Delta variant is aggressively spreading across this country, and places that haven't taken steps are seeing results that we should know by now. Widespread outbreaks, clusters, large amounts of quarantines. We don't have to have that happen. We have a very simple equation. Vaccinations plus, when we need to, mask wearing equals we can do everything that we want in our Commonwealth and our economy. We can be in school every day. We can have our workforce healthy and at work every day. We can do different things like festivals and sports and not have cancellations. All it takes is more people getting vaccinated, and when you need to, wearing a mask. We've seen that they both work. Dr. Stack will show you the statistics. Vaccines protect you, and the more people we get vaccinated, the less we'll have to do anything else. You see it across the country. Masking. We know it works. We did it to get kids back in school last year. We did it in our facilities when we didn't have vaccines and other things. The question is, will we do the right things? And will we see courage all across this Commonwealth to stop a problem before it spirals even further out of control? Let me say we're hearing from hospitals across Kentucky that they are seeing so many more people and younger people in their facilities. And we are seeing our case rates climb significantly, our quarantines climbing significantly. So we talked Monday about our priority one when we were talking about schools. And I want to put that up again. Safe in-person instruction for maximum number of days. My priority is that I'm always going to put the safety of our people over my own personal popularity. Notice there's nothing in there about how many people agree or disagree. Purely based on science. Number one, that our kids are better off in school. And number two, that we have to take steps to make sure that happens. If we're going to teach science in our classrooms, we got to make decisions based on science and not concerns about our own jobs. But I'm adding one today because there is another direct impact if we cannot control the spread, and that is to continue our unprecedented economic progress. These jobs announcements, people looking at Kentucky, is in part, according to Fitch's, according to Moody's, at how well we have managed this virus. and we have to continue to do it. People look at Kentucky now as a place that cares about its people, that's willing to make tough decisions, that has leaders that have the backbone to make the right decisions. And if we are going to continue this unprecedented progress, we have to continue to fight this battle until it's done. So, what is our challenge? We talked about that in terms of schools, but let's expand it a little bit. What we know about the Delta variant is it's going to spread. It's going to spread through unvaccinated workplaces and classrooms, resulting in a loss of productivity where parents and caregivers cannot go to work due to long quarantines. So I want to point this out. If we don't do the right things in our schools, we are going to have quarantines. Think about a class of 20 kids under 12 where none of them are vaccinated. Little basic science, a little basic math says you're going to have a whole lot of quarantines. Well, guess what? Then you got a whole lot of kids under 12 that need parental supervision when they're at home. So you got a whole lot of people that can't show up for their shift or their job in person. And so then you start seeing different businesses, different companies having trouble meeting this new demand, this new excitement, or even their current levels of productivity. And that's the expectation. We are going to see not just lost days in class, we are going to see lost productivity in an economy that is bouncing back if we don't do this right. And whether or not parents are quarantined on their own or are going to have to be there helping their kids, staring at a screen because they didn't want them wearing a mask. I think it's a whole lot more normal to be in person, in class, wearing a mask than it is to be at home, not able to leave, staring at a screen. It's also going to hurt our businesses out there that are already talking about challenges to their workforce. Every analogy that we have right now to schools that are coming back show that if we're not going to start masking and taking other steps, we are going to see outbreaks. Look at summer camps, and this is just a few examples that are out there. We are seeing an exploding number of cases in summer camps. And in a lot of these summer camps, you're not putting kids, unvaccinated kids, without masks, in a poorly ventilated room for hours at a time and somehow expecting a virus we already know enough about is not going to spread. Summer camps show that for the time being, until we get enough people vaccinated or until the Delta virus variant burns out, there are steps we simply have to take. And I think everybody knows the step they need to take. It's just whether or not they're willing to step up and do it. So I decided this last week that we needed to lead by example. That's why in Kentucky state government buildings, certainly anybody under my watch, all state employees while indoors around people at work must wear a mask to protect themselves and those they interact with. So, what's changed? That's what people say. The CDC said we didn't have to wear a mask anymore if we were vaccinated. What's changed? Y'all know the answer. It's the Delta variant. It's that simple. And the CDC now has data showing that even if you're vaccinated, the viral load's so big that you can get the Delta variant, and while you might not get sick, it still protects you really well from getting sick. You can spread it to others. So I'm fully vaccinated. My wife's fully vaccinated. My son's fully vaccinated. My daughter's not old enough. Me not doing the right thing under what the CDC is telling us now threatens to expose my family and everybody else's. That's what's changed, is that while you're probably going to be okay, once again, you might be able to put somebody else in harm's way. And the question might be, well, if they'd all get vaccinated, that wouldn't be the case. And if we set aside kids that aren't old enough, there's some validity in that. But I'm still my brother and sister's keeper. I still believe in loving my neighbor as myself. And even if somebody's been unwilling to do what it takes to protect themselves, I don't want to cause them harm. I don't want to give them a virus that their body might not be able to handle. Folks, these recommendations, asking people in certain situations to put these masks on again, is temporary. And we've already shown that we will remove the recommendation or anything else the moment it's safe. We've already done it. And I think we did it at the right time. And I'm the last person that wanted to put one back on or tell the folks that work for me that they need to put one back on. But again, I care about my people. The science is absolutely clear. And yeah, it may make some people mad at me, but if it makes sure they're safe and their kids are safe, then it's absolutely worth doing. I promised when I became governor that I would lead by example, and that's exactly what I intend to do. As a quick vaccine update, we are seeing a slight uptick in vaccinations. I think our local health departments are seeing that. Just today, if you combine the total unique persons vaccinated in Kentucky, 2,291,046, with those that got vaccinated out of state but live here, we are over 2.3 million Kentuckians that have been vaccinated. We have a long way to go, but when we've been average 1,800, 2,300, 4,758, which is what we did yesterday, is an increase. And if you'll remember on Monday, I said we did about 5,500 more last week than we had done the week before. I think everybody in public health is starting to see, for various reasons, a little bit of an uptick, and we hope that it continues. And if you're willing to get vaccinated, what does it mean? It means you're going to be safe. It means you're less likely to spread it to anybody else. It means you're going to help us whip COVID. You're going to do your part. This is a war. You can step up and do your duty, or you can help the other side, which in this case is the virus. But you can also become our next millionaire. So today is the second drawing in our Shot at a Million sweepstakes. We'll be making that announcement tomorrow. We're going to be changing one individual's life as well as 5 more Kentucky youth. The drawing will be at 12:30 in the Capitol Rotunda, but remember, there's going to be one more opportunity after this. So if you haven't gotten your shot of hope yet, do it to protect yourself. Do it so you don't have to quarantine in the same way, and your kids won't have to, and that there won't be canceled sporting events. And what the SEC is doing and the NFL is doing are forfeits, and your team isn't a part of that, and you're not a cause of that. Or do it because college is expensive. And this is a chance to help out. I still remember the first call I made to one of these, to the youth. First one that had won, it was his birthday. I didn't know that until I called. But he had a twin and another sibling. And I don't know how that family was going to do that. I'm looking at my life. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it. But just to see the relief that they have. All right, so today we're actually joined, I believe, by 5 separate local health department directors. We have Denise Beach, who is director of the Hopkins County Health Department. Thank you for all of your work. We have Greg Brewer, director of Gateway District Health Department. Thank you for all of your great work. Mark Hensley, director of Laurel County Health Department. Dr. Crystal Miller, who's going to talk to us for a minute, who was up here the day after the very first case that we announced. And Dr. Sarah Moyer, director of the Louisville Metro Department of Public Health and Wellness. I'm going to ask Dr. Miller to come up and on behalf of our local health departments and directors to give you an idea of what she is seeing and to assure you that the entire public health sphere, everybody in this scientific world is on the same page. You need to get vaccinated. Areas of high transmission, inside, you need to be wearing a mask. It's not forever. We're going to beat this thing. It's just for now. Dr. Miller?
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you for having me. It feels very different being up here than it did the first round. I want to thank Governor Beshear and Commissioner Stack for your science-based leadership approach to leading this pandemic. It has definitely been difficult for all of us. I want to thank our public health leaders across the Commonwealth and our entire public health workforce for withstanding the unrelenting task of managing this COVID-19 pandemic throughout our communities. This journey, as Governor Beshear said, started for me. I had the very first case in Harrison County on March 6th. And it was certainly a day that is still etched in my head and in my memories. There was a lot of uncertainty, the questions of what's it going to take to get us on the other side of this, and no one could have prepared us for this. And I want us all to take ourselves back to that moment in time, because I think that we all had the same goal in common. We knew without a shadow of a doubt that we would do whatever it took to keep ourselves and our loved ones safe. And somehow we've grayed those lines. We've gotten away from that mission. And it's been a long 16 months. It's been frustrating. It's exhausting. But the difference between March 6th and today is that we have a solution. We know exactly what works: vaccines and masking. I want to share our story in the Wedco district because it's a local story that I think can resonate across the state of Kentucky. We are seeing an uptick in cases, obviously, but the most important piece of data is that 86% of our cases for the past 2 months are unvaccinated individuals. We are seeing our hospital demands are increasing. 20% of our cases or our hospital census is related to COVID, and we have doubled our COVID admissions in the hospitals within my district. That's really, we are trending up very fast. That is very rapid, and we can't keep that pace. We know what works. We know what we need to do. So sadly, my district also experienced a death of a young 52-year-old male over the weekend, unvaccinated. And I want to remind us that this was preventable. It's important that we pay attention to the science, that we not get tired and frustrated and just bow out of what we need to do. I also think an important component that I'm seeing in my communities is the mass information and misinformation, and people are confused. I was actually in a meeting where a group of people pulled me aside and started asking me questions, and at the end of that meeting, they said to me, "It's not that I'm against vaccines, it's just that I don't know who to believe and I don't know where to go." And if you find yourself in that space, if you're in that spot and you need help figuring out what's best for you and your families, reach out to a trusted source. Reach out to a medical provider, reach out to your local health department. There are people out here willing to help you, but please don't just say no because you're confused. There's a lot of information and misinformation out here, and I can absolutely understand our citizens feeling that way. We've had a long 16 months and guidance has changed. There's a lot that plays into this, but the science is clear. The Delta variant is attacking our unvaccinated individuals, and we know exactly how to get out of this pandemic. We have got to get more vaccinations. It's the key to getting us back to exactly where we want to be. I remember standing here on the governor's very first press conference and saying I'm a proud Kentuckian. And I'm a multi-generational Kentuckian, and one of the things that is so impressive to me about Kentucky and my family roots is the hearts of our people. And we've gotten away from that, the compassion that we have. And I want to remind us, let's get back to that. Let's do the simple thing. Let's put the masks on. Let's keep our kids in school. And if you can get vaccinated, please do. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, Steve, go ahead.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Miller. Thank you, Crystal. I brought up the others here with me. I'm just glad they came in for another meeting with me today, and I'm just glad that they were willing to spend this time, and thankful to the governor for having them. So I want to thank all of my colleagues here for their leadership, for their partnership, and for their friendship. It's been a long journey, and I think we've really come together as a group, and I really value every one of them. They are the chief health strategists for all of your communities. So these folks know your communities inside and out. And they do a lot of things, not just the COVID pandemic work, but a lot of things to try to help support a healthier Kentucky and to bring together all of us so that we can all reach our full human potential. I just want to thank all of them for that, and I want to thank them for their hospitality. I visited at least 4 out of the 5 of them in their own counties and districts over my journey as health commissioner, and will soon reach the 5th, so I want to thank all of them for being here today. Kenneth or James or Jim, whoever it is today, could we please put up our... Sure. So when I'm finished with these guys, we'll do the school guidance slide, okay? So I want to show 5 slides here today. It's our science lesson. This is the CDC website. This shows where disease is spreading in relative amounts. If you look at the United States map on the left, the thing I want to point out, and we'll see if this holds up over time, but the highest vaccination rates by far, not even close, New England. And if you look at how pale that is, The amount of disease up there is extraordinarily low. They're only at moderate or low for the most part for transmission. The lowest vaccination rates, United States, hands down, is the southern part of the country. If you look where there's solid red, and when I look at my printed copy, I'm not sure I see any or hardly any light red substantial spread in the 3 counties down the middle there. If you got Missouri all the way down to Louisiana, solid red, rapid transmission. If you look at Kentucky, we're red almost everywhere in orange, so pretty much the entire state, with the exception of a very small number of counties, all reach substantial and high transmission of COVID-19. This is the Delta variant, and I'm going to show on the next slide here in a second. You know, people say, why do we have to go back to masks, and why are we changing this? Well, the next slide, James. This is how fast it changed. So on the left is the incidence rate map from our website as of yesterday. It's up there right now. 36 red counties. 4.5 weeks ago on June 28th, 0 red counties. This, you don't even need to read the numbers. If you just look at the visual change, we have changed in the blink of an eye from a quiet, calm state to a horribly inflamed state. Now I want to draw out one other thing just so you know. When the governor and I make recommendations and the governor makes decisions, we work together on this. Our calibration of our scale is actually higher. We allow more disease in the community before we reach the brighter red ones. So meaning we have made it a little bit more generous to make it a little bit higher before we put in place further recommendations. Even on our map, it is changing alarmingly fast. So we are entirely in agreement with and support what the CDC says. This represents a 6.8 time increase in the incidence rate, the amount of disease per 100,000 people over less than 5 weeks. And we know what we need to do, just like Dr. Miller said. We all need to get vaccinated. And if we were all vaccinated, we'd look like New England, and this wouldn't be happening here in Kentucky. Next slide, James. We update this each week. We add the new data as it comes in. So I want to say, share this. There's over 67,000 test positive cases here in this data set. And what's it show? Well, it shows that 95%, I'll round to whole numbers, 95% of all of our cases are unvaccinated since March 1st. 92% of all of our hospitalizations are unvaccinated, and 89% of all of our deaths are unvaccinated. So folks will say, well, why am I going to get vaccinated if I still have to wear a mask? Well, I don't know. Your chances of not being in the hospital or dead are far better if you're vaccinated. But because the disease is spreading more rapidly, and because the CDC has evidence from the data that the viral loads are much higher, and they were finding in vaccinated people, even the ones who had some mild illness, that their viral load was higher. This was the concern we've said all the way back to the beginning, was the vaccines could prevent severe disease, but they may not be able to completely prevent transmission of the disease. And the Delta variant, unfortunately, got good enough to overcome that transmission protection a bit. James, can we do the next one, please? I've shared this week over week, and we update this one. The vaccines are holding their protective value by a really good margin. So if you do the ratio from the unvaccinated gray bars to the vaccinated blue bars, it ranges from a 4-fold protective benefit from becoming positive on your test, all the way up to almost an 8-fold protective benefit in May. But right now, in the last 2 months, it's held at 5 to 6-fold benefit. That's for cases. If you look, though, you've seen the surge. Look how big the gray bars have gotten. And we know there will be breakthrough cases, people who test positive but probably have either no symptoms or very mild symptoms. That's what a breakthrough case is. People shouldn't blow this out of proportion. We've known all along there will be people who can turn positive. The question is not did they turn positive, it's were they protected from the harms of the disease? And so far the answer is yes. So if we could do the final slide for my original deck. So this is a local. This is Dr. Michael Kelly. He's the medical director, the chief medical officer at Owensboro Health Regional Hospital. And he published this for his staff on the 27th, just 2 days ago. In Owensboro Health in Davies County, unvaccinated persons since April 17th have accounted for 87.5% of all COVID hospitalizations. Unvaccinated people have been 32 out of 35 ICU admissions. They have been 16 out of 18 intubations. And look at this, all 17 deaths that have occurred at this hospital, the regional receiving medical center for that county and that region, all 17 deaths were unvaccinated. All right, folks, there's only a 45% vaccination rate. The population with at least one dose of vaccine in Daviess County, the state average is over 51%. The whole state needs to continue to improve, but Daviess County is lower than the rest of the state. The CDC gives data in their press release and their talkers that were sent out to us yesterday. There's a 3.5-fold lower risk of infection if you're vaccinated, an 8-fold lower risk of getting ill if you're vaccinated, and a 25-fold lower risk of hospitalization or death in the data set they have. Even though you hear subtle variations in these ratios, you hear from local health department leader Dr. Miller, me as a state health official, and the CDC as the national leader for this, these vaccines are working no matter which data sets we look at. I'll leave you with these final thoughts. Oh, and actually, can we put up the final slide, which is the school recommendations, please? Thank you. So you may remember that we said, I think on Monday, we recommended that in schools we were recommending everybody who was unvaccinated should wear a mask, and we were recommending anyone around persons under 12 should be wear a mask. And then we recommended if you really wanted to stay in school, everybody should wear a mask in all of K through 12. Well, now our recommendation mirrors the CDC's, which is flat and simple. Everyone in the K through 12 setting in indoor spaces should wear a mask, period. If you are in the school setting in a K through 12 setting and you are indoors, you should all wear a mask. Additionally, we've updated our school guidance to remind people about the importance of layered mitigation. So depending on how high the disease is spreading in your community, depending on the physical plant you have and other considerations, you may want to do other steps like physical distancing in certain settings, make sure you're cleaning surfaces properly, encouraging hand hygiene, and please, everybody encourage vaccination. And my final takeaway here, I don't have a movie metaphor or analogy today, but is that the vaccines work, and I've tried to be just flat and simple about this. It's not really begging folks to go get vaccinated. It's sort of like wondering why folks wouldn't want to be protected from this when you can get a vaccine that others provide at no cost, additional cost to anyone, that protect you from all of these harms. It's just puzzling why folks wouldn't do it. And when I looked at some social media stuff over the last couple of days, it may be a little easy to understand if you spend a lot of time in those domains. There are either very intelligent bots or very unfortunately malicious people who propagate a whole lot of false information. I just have to recommend to pick up on what Dr. Miller said. We would all be better off if everyone just tuned out from social media and stopped watching anything on cable that wasn't a movie or a television show for entertainment or sports. So if you don't look to cable sources for your medical advice, period, and don't look to social media for your cable or for your medical guidance, period. If we would tune out from that stuff and then listen to the trusted experts, the healthcare providers, the public health leaders, if we would do that, I think we would realize there's really no debate here. There's no controversy, and we could get over this a lot faster. So thank you for your attention. Thanks to all my colleagues back here. I rely on all of them, and it's been a great journey. I couldn't have gotten through it without all of them. So thank you very much. And wear your mask, please.
All right, we are going to recognize our Team Kentucky All-Stars, and then we'll open it up for questions. Today I want to shout out two groups of Team Kentucky All-Stars. Over the past week, it's been amazing to see Kentuckians compete as part of Team USA in the Olympics. I'm so proud of all the athletes, especially those that represent our state and the entire team representing our country. I want to congratulate Lee Kiefer, a medical student at the University of Kentucky, who not only won gold in the women's individual foil, but made history as the first U.S. woman to win an Olympic medal in this event. Adding to Team USA's success, Will Shaner won the air rifle gold medal and set an Olympic record. Will was a 3-time All-American as a college athlete at UK. Congratulations again, and good luck to the athletes on Team Kentucky and Team USA. I also want to recognize our incredible students who spent this summer at the Kentucky Governor Scholars Program, Governor School for the Arts, and the Governor School for Entrepreneurs. Your Lieutenant Governor and I have been so inspired by visiting with you. What an incredibly bright group of leaders. And we are so excited to see the world that they are going to build and the opportunities that are going to be in front of them. All right, with that, we will open it up to questions. We'll start in the order that people RSVP'd, so Karen Czar.
Governor, thank you. At what point, are there any statistics you're looking at or numbers? At what point do the recommendations become a mandate?
Well, I'll rely on advice from Department for Public Health, the CDC, and others. But I was thinking back to some of the bills that were going through the state legislature and wondering why we have any problem following recommendations. Every recommendation I'm putting out right now has been put out by the CDC, and I remember a group trying to put those into law as what we would do here in the Commonwealth. So, it's a no-brainer. We know how this thing spreads. We know how to stop it, but we really do need local leadership to make it work. If folks aren't willing right now to put into place a very clear recommendation that if you do it, you can succeed, and if you don't, you're almost certain to fail, then we're not going to have the buy-in from them, even if there is a mandate to get done what we need done. But we're going to keep following it. And again, all the tools have to be on the table, and we'll carefully monitor it as it progresses. Alex?
Where are you at with considering mandating vaccines or formally calling on private businesses, hospitals to mandate vaccines among staff?
Well, I believe that we just saw one of the hospital systems in Bowling Green today mandate vaccinations, and I support them in their decision to do it, and I will stand with them against any criticism they see, because those individuals are on the front lines, exposed nearly every day, and we need to make sure they are protected. We'll be watching also what the federal government is or is not going to do. Now, I will say that most of these, they say it's a mandate. It's not. It's either get the vaccine or get tested. And so you could call it a monitoring program just as easily, where those that don't want to have to do the monitoring can get vaccinated. So we'll watch what's happening. Right now, I don't think a mandate for me would necessarily get those that have been unwilling to get vaccinated. So, Alex, what I'm going to always try to do is what we think works. And we don't always know. Admittedly, we don't always know exactly what's going to work, but we want to do the things that are most effective. And I will say we are seeing an uptick. It needs to be bigger. We are seeing an uptick in vaccinations. Sarah?
So I know we've heard a lot about Delta lately, and it's very serious. I know we had seen cases of Alpha, the Alpha variant earlier. I was wondering if there's a rundown or a list of all the variants we've seen in Kentucky.
Yes, and we can get that to you. In general, we have seen 8 major variants of concern, right? These are variants of concern. There are variants that aren't variants of, and the CDC defines those. It looks like if you combine what we have, that we have sequenced at DPH along with private labs, it's about 227. That's just the tip of the iceberg, but it gives us an idea what's out there. Of that, the Delta variant is 84, which would be 37%, but we know it is the dominant variant now. I mean, they say 80%. It's probably 100% by now. We ought to assume that if you're going to get COVID, you're going to get that variant. The B117, which was the UK variant, still at 36.56%. We've been sequencing that longer, and so some of this is historic. Carolina. There you go.
There are still some schools, despite the CDC's updated guidance, that are choosing to not require masks indoors. What do you say to those districts? And then also, do you guys have any guidance for daycares, which involve children that are the youngest out there?
Right. Certainly daycares, to the extent that they can, ought to be looking at masking. We haven't come out with formal recommendations for that, but given the variant and how it is growing, and most of the people can't be vaccinated, and even those that are vaccinated could potentially be spreading it to those that would catch it the fastest. They really ought to be thinking about that. To the schools, you teach science in your classroom. You should have to consider it when making decisions. We've seen what works. We were able to get back to in-person classes while masking, and we have seen what doesn't. And we don't have enough kids that are vaccinated now, and in elementary schools, none, that would change anything we've seen in the past. The only change is the Delta variant, which is more aggressive. So if the CDC says to succeed, everybody needs to have a mask on, and that's what you have to do to protect the kids. And if the state says to succeed, you need to have your mask on, and it's what you need to do to protect your kids. And you as a school district with absolutely zero medical advice say, no, we're not going to do that. Number one, you're going to have a lot of kids in quarantine. Number two, you're going to forfeit a lot of your sports, your games, your matches. Number three, more people get COVID, even young, the more likelihood there is that one of them gets hurt, has a bad outcome. And I can't imagine what type of liability a school system will face if the CDC told them something clearly, the state told them something clearly, and in the midst of a pandemic with the most aggressive variant yet, knowing that most of their student body was not vaccinated, did not make the right decision. I can't imagine any lawyer on earth that would counsel them to do anything other than the guidance. And in fact, House Bill 1, if you remember it. This is even folks that said I was making wrong decisions said, well, take it away from the governor, and if the CDC says do it, do it. Guess what the CDC says? Put on a mask in all K through 12. They also say put on a mask in every county, and it's virtually every county here, of high or substantial transmission, including Franklin County. Lawrence.
Just following up on Karen's question, are you considering, and under what circumstances will you consider reinstating the mask mandate?
I am not currently considering reinstating the mask mandate. We will watch what's happening, and again, it's on the table if it's needed. There are differences between the last time, the vaccines being a primary one, and then again, we got to have the buy-in. You know, we're at a different place where a lot of people are frustrated too, and I get it. And it's now some different people that are frustrated that used to be. Somebody says, I've done everything you've asked, Governor, and I got vaccinated, stayed healthy at home, I wore my mask, I did it all. Why should I have to do this now? And the answer is the battle's just not won yet. And we can't quit before it's over. But to them, I'd say we are tough enough, we are strong enough, and we're going to make it. But let's step up and continue to do the right things. The game changer is the ability of somebody vaccinated to spread it. That changes things. Sure.
If you don't mind, Republicans are already pushing back, putting out statements, denouncing your decision about the state capitol and other state buildings. Your response, please.
The incident rate in Franklin County, where we are requiring masks and some others are not, on July 1st was 1.4%. On July 28th was 17.70%. It is more than 15 times higher than it was at the beginning of the month. I talked to somebody who worked a shift at the ER here locally. More and more and more and more COVID cases every day. I've heard anecdotally about people in state government and some offices that apparently are pushing back, that have tested positive recently. So, listen, I care more about my people than my popularity. I got the backbone to do what's right for them. I wish other people did too. Tom Latek.
Thank you, Governor. And as we kind of piggybacking on the general trend here, are you considering, President Biden is apparently going to get ready to announce that all federal employees must be vaccinated. Are you looking at doing something similar for executive branch state employees here in Kentucky?
So we're not considering that. Certainly at this time. But again, I think when you look at the nuance in what they're doing, there are options. And the option is to be regularly tested. We may look at potential requirements of testing depending on how far this goes, and that will be to protect our employees and those that come in. Obviously, the amount that you need to get tested depends on whether you're vaccinated or not, because that's your likelihood of getting it, as we see. But we're not looking at, well, I don't know what President Biden's going to do. So we'll have to look at what that is. But that's not under consideration at the moment. I haven't talked with Dr. Stack about it at all yet. Piper.
Given that there is one more drawing after today's for the vaccine lottery, are there any vaccine incentive programs in the works for the future to vaccinated once this program comes to an end?
So we are seeing different types of incentives. Yeah. We're looking for any options. We're seeing more private incentives. We've seen one MCO, others need to do a lot more, offering incentives to their members and even door-to-door vaccinations. We're seeing more businesses step up and do it. Kroger, of course, is doing the really big one, but we're seeing a lot of them offer certain days off, $100 here, $100 there. By the way, the Delta variant ought to encourage them to do more, because the Delta variant has an ability, more so than any variant thus far, if your group isn't vaccinated, to wipe out a whole shift. Or a classroom getting infected, and thus those parents having to be home. We're still looking for what works, and it's a challenge. So we wouldn't have a problem with the Delta variant if there was that silver bullet that could get the last group of Kentuckians and Americans vaccinated. But we will look at anything that does work. It does appear that the seriousness of the Delta variant is getting through to some folks who hadn't gotten vaccinated yet. But don't be one of these individuals that is lying in the hospital. They're about to intubate you, and you say, "Can I get the vaccine?" It's too late when you've already gotten this Delta variant. It is too late. Melissa Patrick.
So the Courier Journal reported that only 27% of Medicaid eligible people have received the vaccine. So what else are you doing to get Medicaid beneficiaries vaccinated? Is there money, state money, to incentivize them? And what pressure or incentives can you apply to MCOs?
Well, I've been pushing the MCOs for several months now in direct conversations. We have seen some, breakthrough is not a word we should use on that, given we have seen some advancement, but we have not seen enough. These companies have some of the single largest contracts that we give out in state government, and they're healthcare companies, and they ought to be doing better. And we're going to continue to push. My hope is, now that we have certainly one doing a real program that I think is going to work, that we will see others. But I do think that there is an important point in right now, it may take somebody different than that company calling or showing up to convince folks to get vaccinated. Oftentimes, those that are on Medicaid may have less access to information, accurate information, and we need to make sure we do that too. But we're all in. I will tell you, these local health department directors, talking to them, everyone is planning something new every week or every couple weeks, trying to make it work. They are seeing an uptick in high school age athletes getting vaccinated, with the prospect of having to forfeit games otherwise out there. So we're going to keep looking. But those MCOs should be doing a lot better. Joe, where are you? There you are.
This might be a question for Dr. Stack, but I want to talk about the comparison between the maps that the CDC has and the maps that the state has. And, how do you kind of explain the differences between those two? Because the CDC's is obviously a bit more alarming.
Yeah.
And as far as, the recommendations for masking, that sort of thing, how do you kind of explain to people what they should listen to?
So thank you. I can't quote it out just from memory, but the CDC has a different threshold for how many cases per 100,000 people trigger their different levels. And ours are more permissive. We calibrate the threshold a little bit higher. We haven't changed it. This has been the way we've kept it the whole time. And so I asked our team just to make sure. My concern was, if we were not in alignment with CDC, why aren't we? And I think that we have shown in Kentucky that because of our collaboration and communication, we can tolerate that higher level. And I know that people in the community are concerned whenever we make these steps. I don't think the governor and I take any of this lightly. We never have this entire journey. So we don't leap to a conclusion. We try to allow enough disease to spread if we have to allow activities to occur, but to keep people safe all at the same time. It's a difficult balancing act. So I think what they should do is look at the Kentucky website, because we use Kentucky data to populate our incidence rate. And what you find is the closer you get to the data, often just the better it is. And so I think I'm confident in our Kentucky data. I'm confident that our incidence rates are calculated well and reliably. And I'm confident that, having gone through this now for over a year and a half, that we have managed to navigate the supply of healthcare facilities and capacity against the rate of disease, and that our calibration has worked well for the state. So.
Well, you say it's more the state's map is more permissible, but isn't the state's threshold for cases per 100,000 people lower than the CDC's map?
Yeah, and so I'll come back on Monday prepared to be able to address this more specifically or get back to you. You have to look at the formulas they use, and when you compare the two formulas, ours are a higher threshold. But I want to be able to respond intelligently to it. I think it's a good question, and it's one we owe you a response for, so we'll get that for you. Okay.
Shelby.
Commissioner Quarles, Treasurer Ball already said they won't be enforcing their members of their staff and people in their office to wear masks. If they don't show up wearing masks to work, could they face disciplinary action, and what would that look like?
Well, they work for separate constitutional officers, so they won't face discipline, but they will face a much higher likelihood that they get COVID, get really sick. I mean, I just went through July 1 incident rate in Franklin County, 1.4, now 17.7. You know, at some point you got to do the right thing for your people and not try to score political points. This is an easy one. It's the right thing. We're going to see COVID moving through offices, and we already have, where folks aren't vaccinated, but with what we're seeing right now, also through offices where at the worst of it, people won't wear a mask. And it's not like we're doing this 3 weeks ago. We're doing it now with all the red up there. I mean, either you believe in science or, you know, you're not willing to do what it takes, or you're willing to set an example that works with the misinformation that's out there and may discourage more people to get vaccinated or do the right thing. And then there's the problem with peer pressure, right? If you walk into an office and the first 5 people you see aren't wearing a mask, you're less likely to put one on. And so there are people in those offices that would wear one, but you're not going to see them wear one because of the example that's being set. It's unfortunate. Representative from WTVQ. Nope.
I guess that's
Yeah. Okay.
Governor Beshear, first of all, thank you so much for being here today and talking to us. In your opinion, do you find that parents are feeling a little bit uneasy going back to school, sending their kids back to school unvaccinated? Have you spoke to parents? How are they feeling?
I am a parent of one vaccinated and one unvaccinated child. But I know how well masks work, and none of our children were vaccinated when they went back to school last year. We've proven we can do this, and we know exactly how to do this. And my kids are going to a school district where they stepped up and had the courage to do universal masking. I'd feel very, very different if they were going to a different school district. So all I'd encourage is every superintendent, every board, we're not playing. This is real. If you want to be successful, you want to do the right thing, just make the right decision. You might have some parents, though a lot of the people that are upset aren't even parents right now, but just wait until their kids aren't in class for weeks or months at a time. They're going to be even more upset, and they're not going to remember or acknowledge where they were before. WLKY? Nope. Anybody I missed? Yeah.
Nick from Wayne.
Yeah.
Appreciate you doing it. I hate to buck from the trend, but I got an economic question for you.
Okay.
Tomorrow being the last day to start a new job to qualify for the back to work incentive, have you noticed that the back to work incentive is working, and how can you tell?
So we believe our back to work incentive is working. When we pulled the numbers about a week and a half ago, there were over 7,000 fewer Kentuckians on the pandemic unemployment. And that's what the impetus was. You know, there are lots of reasons that we have challenges in our workforce. One is that we're recovering so quickly. It's something that I would pray for, and if we can beat this pandemic, which we're going to, we can address this challenge. Another is our baby boomers are finally retiring. Biggest part of the workforce, held jobs for 40 plus years. So now we're asking folks that were in gig economies to take a job that a boomer had and do the same thing for 20 to 30 years. It's a big change. Then we have more people quitting, and they can't get on unemployment if you quit than ever before. So we got a whole lot that's going on all at the same time. But this back to work incentive is something we heard from business leaders from all sides of the political spectrum, and with 7,000 fewer people plus on pandemic unemployment, if you remove anybody new who is filed. we think we have seen some real movement. Anecdotally, we also have had dozens of employers talk about how they had a pickup in their applications. Also, this thing is ending September the 6th, right? And so the runway is now short, and anyone and everyone needs to make sure that they are out there. If Congress gives us the opportunity to extend it, we will not at this point. With the vaccinations, now's the time, with the ability to masks, where we can get back fully to work. All right, did I miss any? One last one. Okay.
This is totally off topic. Can you explain why you decided not to go to Fancy Farm this year, and will you go to the alternative event that Democrats are holding in Louisville?
The question is why I chose not to go to Fancy Farm this year. It's a couple things. First, I missed out on a lot of opportunities to do things with my family and my kids this last year. I promised them I was going to make it up, and I'm going to keep that promise. We don't have any elections this year either. And finally, we're going to the event in and of itself is concerning in the midst of the Delta variant when looking at vaccination rates. And what do we do at Fancy Farm? We all pack in tightly and everybody else, which is a great way to spread it. So my decision was based on spending time with my kids and my wife. But I would say to anybody else that's thinking about it, make sure you're vaccinated and wear a mask and protect yourself. All right, I'll take just a couple more, and then I got to get to Henderson. Yeah.
Governor, this is economic development. So you had mentioned a couple times in recent weeks that there's going to be a huge announcement coming out of Paducah, economic development-wise. Is that still on the radar?
We were talking about certainly this announcement in Henderson is the largest investment in Western Kentucky in 25 years, but we have hopes that there may materialize something in something in Paducah that is even bigger, but it is not to the point where we can talk about it. All right, thank you all very much. And we're playing the Pratt video.
In a 100% recycled paper mill, our 71st factory in America, which will increase our workforce to over 10,000 employees in well-paying, green-collar American manufacturing jobs, including an additional 321 full-time employees plus 700 in construction as a result of this investment. This $400 million green manufacturing investment began in Governor Beshear's office in April 2021, and the speed in which he has moved and the enthusiasm and professionalism of the entire Kentucky team has encouraged and enabled us to make this $400 million manufacturing investment to create well-paying American green-collar manufacturing jobs. Governor Beshear was so welcoming and enthusiastic about the opportunity. I'm proud to say that this is actually phase 2 of our commitment to Kentucky, coming on the back of our manufacturing factory in Hebron in 2010, which employs well over 200 Kentuckians in well-paying manufacturing jobs. And I'm honoured to say that my personal relationship with the great Commonwealth of Kentucky goes back even further to 2005, when I was proud to be the founding patron of the Muhammad Ali Center in Louisville. In support of the Governor's great vision, we're committed to doubling down on this investment of $400 million until our cumulative investment in Kentucky is over $500 million. In fact, phase 3 of our Kentucky commitment, which will be built after the 100% recycled paper mill, is a 700,000 square foot state-of-the-art corrugated box factory which will be connected to the paper mill. And what gives me the confidence to say that we'll keep growing is our track record of being the fastest growing company in the paper and packaging industry, as we've gone from the 46th biggest company to number 5, having built 6 out of America's last 8 paper mills. These 100% recycled paper mills have made us the only major paper company in America that's 100% recycled, which is important because recycling is an important weapon against climate change. Because as things decay in the landfill, they emit methane gas, which is 20 times worse for the environment than CO2 emissions in causing the greenhouse effect. In fact, landfills emit more carbon than all of global aviation. So recycling is an important weapon against climate change. Another way of saying that is that our all-American 100% recycled paper mills save the equivalent of 6 football fields of trees every hour. The Henderson Mill, which will be the most technologically advanced in the world, will produce more than 1,500 tonnes of recycled paper every day, saving the equivalent of over 25,000 trees or 2 football fields every 24 hours. And more than 100,000 tonnes of this waste paper will be from discarded paper and old corrugated boxes collected from Kentucky's homes and businesses. So every day, Kentuckians alone will be saving 5,000 trees. Thank you.